Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to crafting a brand spanking new M4 and then raging your tits off as to why it doesn't work, only to then realize that you forgot the fucking gas block. Not that I've done that several times at all in the past. Anyway, otherwise known as a Tarkov video. What is fun in Tarkov, you might ask? Is it running around with the most heavily decked out kit imaginable, fully kitted with M4s and Gen 4 armor? Is it running into reserve with a pistol and somehow getting out with 900k's worth of gear and resources? Is it running headfirst into Inchange, having Killer bugged out into a wall so you can kill him with a Makarov? I mean, that's pretty fun in of itself, if you don't mind me saying. Fun in Tarkov, much like all games, is very subjective. And we all find our ways to find that subjectivity, to enjoy ourselves within the video games we play. And Tarkov has no end of things to do to keep yourself entertained. And it depends on your playstyle, depends on the maps you enjoy, and the like. In this video in particular, and probably a series we'll be running for the near future, we're going to be taking a look at the types of game modes and the types of play you can get within the game. Things you can do that don't fall into the main gameplay loop, and things that don't just come under the line of equip gear and kill stuff. Because we want to expand on what there is to do within Tarkov to give you more of an endeavor, to give you more aims to achieve within the game. So in the first video of this series, we're going to take a look at the delights of zero to hero runs, and how you might make huge bank while also learning the ins and outs of Tarkov, and how exactly zero hero runs can be one of the most fruitful and enjoyable things you can do, and how you can get the most out of them at the same time. Right off the bat, you might be asking, but Makari, you goofy goober, what is a zero to hero run? Well, let me tell you, young Jimmy, a zero to hero run is kind of what it says on the tin. A zero to hero run is the idea of going into a raid with bare minimum gear and items, usually just a pistol or heck even naked for that matter, meaning you are risking almost nothing, and kind of verges on the idea of almost being like a hatchling run. But it's not. Allow me to explain. The main difference being, whereas with a hatchling run, you're just going in with the intent of stuffing stuff up your ass and dying to get out with stuff in your prison wallet to make an initial profit, the idea of a zero to hero run is generally initially the same, where you get in, get some stuff inside prison wallet just to make a profit, but to then push up and find guns to improve your combat viability within the raid. Whether you start naked or with a pistol, whatever iteration you do of this mode, you'll generally find zero to hero run starting you with either a beelining it for high value rooms or known weapon caches and weapon spawns to up your firepower, so you can stand up in a fight. So in short, it's a hatchling run with purpose. It's a hatchling run that will aid you in your learning process and give you the ability of actually having a bit more of an intrepid adventure within the map you decide to take this on. A lot of the ways this is done is the following in a simplistic fashion. If we take Shoreline as an example map that we would take part in this on. When entering, you're going to generally beeline it straight to the resort, or you're going to find the location with the largest amount of resources and loot boxes and possible weapon caches. In the resort, for example, we have room after room of caches and high value loot. Working your way through the rooms and avoiding players, while undergeared, you'll find a few naked AKs or other weapons in caches and on scabs that you might be able to pop off. These weapons you'll then use to give yourself a fighting chance against other players. You can then use that gun to kill a couple scabs, or heck, if you feel confident, even go up against the players that are there with you. That gear you get off them will then give you a better standing chance once you feel comfy in the fact that you've done well enough. You'll then make your way out. Even if you die at this stage, you've A, gotten some gear in your pouch to make a profit off, B, have had some fun, because you know fun's important, and given yourself a challenge that'll help you learn a few things in the process, including getting over gear fear and handling your weapons with minimal modding. So we now know the idea of a zero to hero run is the kind of run where we have no threat of loss, because we aren't risking anything, so we aren't going to be afraid of dying, and to slowly gain profit and maybe make a big bank if we get the drop on some geared players or run across some valuable loot in the rooms, depending on the map we're on, of course. On top of that, the different maps can offer completely different experiences of a zero to hero run. Now, ideally, zero to hero runs can be done on any map, but I'm going to give you some examples of my favorite maps for zero to hero runs, keeping in mind that what makes a zero to hero run ideal are the maps that are the ones that have the ease of access to weapon crates and weapon spawns, etc. But really, any map can be good for this, but the ones I would personally recommend for zero to hero runs are the following. Shoreline. Shoreline, as mentioned, has a great mode for zero to hero runs. Unfortunately, the only downside with this map is you're generally going to spawn quite far away from the resort, so you're going to have to try and beeline it there as quickly as possible. But thankfully, because it's such a large map, the spawn locations are very spread apart. And if you go in at nighttime, you'll generally run into a lot less players. Now, although with Shoreline, you will definitely need to invest into some keys just to make sure you can get into some of the more high-value rooms. Generally speaking, the resort area is so large that even if you avoid the high-value loot rooms, there are going to be areas that have guns and weapon caches spread throughout them, which will then give you that stepping stone that you'll need to start fighting up against other players. Now, I'm going to make an actual loot run guide for Shoreline at some point, because I think Shoreline is one of the better maps for making a bit of dosh on, but there's a couple of paths you can take with this map, and generally speaking, taking it slowly and steadily, going through the rooms and trying to find yourself some weapons, it will be your initial state. There's a bunch of vehicles around, and even if you don't decide to go to the resort, you can also rely on some of the outlying village areas to get some guns as well. And with the amount of loot that there is on this map, chances are you're also going to run across players who would have killed each other, or possibly just have some chances to make advantage of other people's folly. Because a lot of the times people will often run through this just to open the doors to find some of the rare items and leave everything else unlooted, giving you the chance to get some loot yourself. Reserve is probably one of the more high risk maps to do a zero to hero run on, but it's probably one of the most profitable as well. And unlike Shoreline, you don't necessarily need an infinite number of keys to make these runs work. However, with zero to hero runs, it's always worth keeping in mind, and any map you go onto for that matter, it's worth keeping in mind that keys can definitely improve profitability. So sometimes it's worth sinking a little bit of money to get some keys to improve long run income. So Reserve is a funky one. You have very high geared players, you have lots of scavs running around, and you've got lots of rooms of high value loot in them. Generally speaking, if you run out in the open, you're going to get shot in the face by either a sniper or a scav boss. So, generally speaking, with Reserve, you want to focus on sticking around the outside edge of the map, maybe go in with a pistol or something to try and take care of some of the scavs that wander around, and go for the high-value locations. These are where the tanks lie, and these are also the dormitories and any of the buildings. Every single building in Reserve is packed to the brim with loot. And although necessarily from the outside perspective, Reserve seems quite condensed, there are a bunch of other areas that you can utilize, and generally it's quite obvious to tell where other players are. So you can utilize that knowledge to subvert your enemies and then get as much loot from the rooms as possible, trying to go where the other players are not until you can gear yourself up enough to feel confident to take a fight or to just get out. The only downside with Reserve is the actual process of leaving. You either have to get lucky and wait for somebody to activate the lever to use the hyperbolic door. I think it's the door that requires the lever. You know what I'm talking. You'll know when you see it. It's the one that's in the bunkers near the train station. That one. And alternatively, there is also the guaranteed exit of the train that comes later down the line. Or you can also use a paracord with the RR pickaxe. Admittedly, I would say that Reserve might be a bit more of a complicated one to do a zero to hero run, but it is probably one of the funnest maps to do zero to hero runs on as well. And Factory. Factory probably boasts one of the best new player experiences for getting to grips with mechanics, and in general will offer a great zero to hero advantage as well, because what you can do here is, because it's such a small map and people are generally going to be rushing each other to get into the combat quite quickly, if you just wait in a corner for a couple of seconds at the very start of a game, chances are, after about a minute of waiting, there's already going to be some dead bodies on the field for you to loot. Alternatively, there are plenty of caches laid around the map. You can also always beeline it straight for the office to get the free and easy bit of cash from the safe in this room. And as there are weapon spawns and weapon caches all over the place, yes, you may die quite quickly, but because it's such a small map, you can get in and start all over again really stupidly easy. And sometimes all it takes is managing to get a shotgun off of a scav or picking up an AK from one of the loot boxes to start an absolute streak of terror that leaves you with a bunch of really great gear that you can use to base yourself on. Now, of course, zero to hero runs are not the be-all and end-all of game styles, but it is a very fun, unique, and interesting, and the enjoyment you get from it is very much going to be dictated by how you approach your zero to hero run. So, take some initiative, dictate the way you want to play yourself, and go at this zero to hero run in however you so choose. One way that I really love doing this is to go in initially with a pistol, and what I'll do is, if I run across an AK or a slightly beefier weapon, if I manage to leave through that raid, I will treat myself to a level up, wherein I will upgrade the weapon that I have found in that raid to a couple of mods and upgrades. And then I will continuously run that weapon until I've either died or until I feel like it's so powerful that it would make a zero to hero run pointless. Either way, you get this sequential level of sequential process of leveling and power creep where you are slowly getting stronger the better you do. Alternatively, you can always go in completely bare bones all the time, and it's not like this is something you have to do every time, as it is something that can just be eked in here or there to your runs to really improve your enjoyment of the game. And I would say this is something worth trying even once or twice just to see how you make it. And, you know, it does ease itself into other types of game modes within Tarkov that you would normally try anyway. So trying to make a focus of a zero to hero run can be so enjoyable within the grand scheme of Tarkov. So, why not give a zero to hero run a go? They're good for earning money, they give you little risk and good rewards. Not to mention they'll help you learn a lot of the fundamentals, and from a new player's perspective, a zero to hero run is, in my eyes if nothing else, one of the best ways of learning the game, especially to also help you learn maps. Because you're not risking much, but you have the possibility of gaining lots, and if nothing else, knowledge is power. And that's something I always try to push across to new players in Tarkov. So, leave your comments down below as to what maps you like to run your zero to hero runs on. Give me suggestions as to videos you would like to see in the future. And I hope you're enjoying these new Tarkov videos and our future adventures into Tarkov together. I hope you enjoyed this video. Maybe like, share it to your friends, help us grow in the Tarkov community. Maybe join us on Twitch, because we do record these with our wonderful community over there. They'll be linked down below, and I'll hopefully see all of you top hatters in the next video.